Here we are. My name is Mark Miller. This is the Monday evening office hours. And the topic, well, I'm Mark, and I have my lovely sidekick.
I am that. I'm Elizabeth Rebay. I live here in Austin, Texas. I do marketing, social media. Oops.
Seem to freeze up.
You froze up too. Okay.
All right. Why don't you introduce yourself again?
Okay. I'm Elizabeth. I do marketing, social media, a little bit of everything, help Mark out with this project. So I'm happy to be here. It's been a while.
Yes. So the topic for this is you're the perfect fit for the position. By the way, if you're going to be a perfect fit, you're going to lose.
That you are.
So we discussed, Elizabeth, you have a set of questions you want to ask?
I do. So I reread the article, and it made me think a little bit. So one question that I had when I was reading the article, I thought, well, what prompted you to write this blog post? What drove you to do that?
Well, as many of you may know, I'm on the board at Launchpad Job Club. We're the largest job networking group in Central Texas. We put about 15,000 people through our programs over the last 15 years. And we have a very well-known recruiter, Charles Black. He's very well respected, but he's also incredibly direct. And he basically said, oh, by the way, oh, you think you're the absolute perfect fit for this job. By the way, we ain't gonna hire you.
Wow, that is direct.
we are. If you fit every single qualification on a job description, we're not going to hire you, because the assumption is you will probably leave in 6 months. You will get bored and leave. What they would rather do is hire someone who can grow into the job.
Okay.
They can pay less money to.
That is true.
And they figure we'll hang around for 3 and 4 years.
Okay.
Which in today's world is a long time.
Yes, it is. Yep.
So if you are a perfect fit, don't apply.
Okay.
Okay.
So what are you thinking? Like, say they have 10 requirements and you fit 6, but that's a good number to go for it, because you can grow into the position. Okay.
Yeah, I think the key thing here is to understand when these job descriptions are written, they are asking for everything in the world.
Yes.
So I wrote a blog post some time ago called the Purple Cow Job Description.
Yes, I remember that one. Mm-hmm.
Right? The reality is, and I've done this myself, my last company at Life Size, I wrote a job description. Am I qualified to write job descriptions? The answer is hell no. I don't know anything about writing jobs. But I asked for everything I possibly could want.
Yep.
And the reality is, I asked for all these certifications. Oh, by the way, I wanted the certification that I gave out, which I'd only given out of about 100 of them worldwide. And
you were picky.
And I wanted you to live in Austin.
Oh my.
And I wanted all these things, and my ideal candidate didn't exist.
Okay.
And so if you do reach a point where you fit all the qualifications, you're weird. So when I wrote this post, when I posted it on LinkedIn, I think it was this post or one other where I asked there's a Harvard Business Review article.
Okay.
That asked the question, that was posing the question, if you're a woman, women will feel that they have to meet all the qualifications on a job description before they'll apply.
Yes.
Men will only figure they got to meet about 60%.
Okay.
And I asked the question, okay, ladies, is this true? And I got hundreds and hundreds of comments back saying, yep.
Yeah, it is true.
If I don't meet all the qualifications as a woman, I don't apply.
Yep.
Which filters you out. And so the reality is, you should be looking for jobs that will stretch you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you meet all the qualifications, you are going to be labeled overqualified.
Okay.
And they won't talk to you.
That's right. Okay.
They're going to assume that you're going to be too expensive and that you're just going to get bored quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be out the door. 6 months. As soon as something that's going to stretch you further is going to that you're going to leave.
Okay.
So don't apply for jobs where you meet all the qualifications.
Okay. Well, but let's flip that coin and say, for example, you're wanting less responsibility, or you want to be able to stay at home and take care of an elderly parent, or whatever
Right.
reason, and you do meet all the qualifications, but you want the job, but you know that you will want to stay and be at the organization for however long. So how do you adjust your resume, or how do you pitch yourself to do that?
There are two ways of doing it. The number one, which most people know to do, is to dumb down your resume.
Yeah. Okay.
As you know, I don't believe in putting more than 15 or 20 years of experience on your resume. I don't go back 30 years. Only go back to where it is relevant. Two, and remove if you have done things that show you're overqualified, take them out.
Okay.
In other words, make yourself look like you're 80% qualified.
Okay.
The other way, which is what I prefer, is go find the hiring manager and have that conversation.
Okay. Okay.
Where this works best, if you say, you know what, let me come in for a 6-month contract. Let's try each other out.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had very, very good luck a number of times where I've had clients go in an interview. The company goes, I'm just not sure. And what I've had my client do is go back in and say, hey, how about I come in for a 3-month contract, 6 months? And what they can do is they then can put a budget together. They can put a box around it, how much they're going to spend. In other words, they know how much they're going to risk. This is particularly if you come in on a 3-month contract. And what you'll find is the barrier for the threshold to hire for a contractor is much, much lower than a full-time employee. And they are willing to take that risk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Particularly if you, like I had one client who he was a channel management position. And he went in and pitched a 4-point plan in his interview. And they kind of hemmed it on. He says, okay, let me come in for 3 months, fixed number of hours, charge him a good rate, and then said, let me do the first 2 steps.
Okay.
Well, as it turned out, he had another contract job with his old employer. So he came in, he was doing 30 hours for his old employer. He'd end up doing 20 hours for these guys. After 3 months, his first contract ran out, and he ended up, took him up to 40 hours.
Perfect.
Oh, after a year, they hired him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of what I say, try to buy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are overqualified, if you need to have that conversation. They have to realize that I don't want to work full time. I don't want to, like I've got a client right now where she is working 30 hours a week. And they are right now dating.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that the contract position is a great idea for both sides. You can try it out. You can see if the organization does fit you, or if you're happy working at a reduced level of responsibility, and if it's okay for you to leave at 5 o'clock, or if you feel like you have to.
Yeah. Well, my one client who's got 30 hours a week, she agreed to let her work about 10 to 15 hours a week at home. She's got 2 middle school kids. The 30 hours a week works out real well. She's home when her kids get off school. And and by the way, she doesn't like being in the office. So it's so far, it seems to be working out real well. And she can do that for 3 months. And from there on, at probably, I almost guarantee at the end of 3 months, they'll extend her for another 3 months. And by the way, we'll up the rate.
Yep.
And, and again, it's a lower it's a lower risk.
Yeah, for both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah.
I worked with my neighbor here who had been in HR for 20 plus years, and she'd been over with a major employer here in town, and who had let go a lot of their HR people. And she decided that she wanted to be a business analyst. So she went over to ACC, got her business analyst certificate. She got her PMP. And no one would talk to her as a full-time employee. I said, go hit the contracting agencies up.
Yeah.
And eventually she got hired. By the way, she got hired as a contractor over at VMware.
Oh, perfect.
At really great rate.
Mm-hmm.
She lasted 18 months out there. VMware let go most of their contractors this last year when they're part of the Dell EMC acquisition.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And she's now got hired at a local, one of the Central Health, as a business analyst.
Oh, perfect.
As a full-time employee at double what she used to make in her old job.
Uh-huh.
And it was, and the idea was first going as a contractor, she kind of built her street cred.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
They weren't taking, if she didn't work out, they could have let her go in a heartbeat.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the threshold to hire, so that's where I always say, play the game of coming in as a contractor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you are overqualified, you need to have that conversation with the hiring manager going, look, I know I'm overqualified. Here's the game. I don't want to work so hard.
Yeah.
I just want to do this piece.
Yeah.
And make sure that everyone's okay with that before you interview.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, i.e., it's going to take a relationship.
Yep.
If all you're doing is submitting your resume through an applicant tracking system and applying online, you will get nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the really hard part that a lot of folks our age have, is the fact that you're going to have to work your network, and they have to hear your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? They have to hear the story and understand that.
Yeah, what you're asking, what you're needing.
Yep.
And I think most employers now are becoming more open to that and wanting to make adjustments for that. So.
Yeah, well, there's no question. When you're looking at making a hire, it is all about risk mitigation.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And if you will go in and make a proposal to them rather than waiting for them to make a proposal to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember, this is dating and marriage.
Yep. Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. In fact, I was watching on CNN there, Bill Weir is doing a series, and it's telling stories, and it was on Iceland. And in Iceland, marriage is kind of becoming it's the institution is dying. People they don't get married.
Yeah.
And this one couple where they had I think they had three kids with two different partners.
Oh my!
Right.
Okay.
And they got married, and what she did was she asked him to get married.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you can do that. Women
yeah. Well, I think for baby boomers to make that switch of you're in the driver's seat and you create the job and you ask for what you want, I think that's a whole different. It's a new mindset. It's a change in the way of thinking. But we have to do that because if we want to continue to grow our skills or adjust to changing family dynamics, you need to be able to do that.
Yeah, I've had two clients in the last 3 months who took contract positions, and they offered them a rate, and they said, "Nah, I want 20% more."
Oh wow, okay.
And what the company had was,
okay,
well, we'll give you 15% more, right?
That's
right.
Good. Very good.
They offered my one client. They offer $50 an hour, and she said, "I want $70," and they said, "Well, we'll come at 65."
That's not bad.
What and the answer is yes, they can do that.
Yeah. But you also have to be able to walk away too if you don't feel like it's in your needs.
Well, if they want you, and again, the concept of doing contract work, the threshold, they can kick you out in a heartbeat and no one feels bad about it.
Yeah.
The other piece is if you're doing contract work, you also feel better if something better comes along of picking up and leaving.
Yeah, that's true too.
Than if you were a full-time employee.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you are the perfect fit, you're gonna have to do some explaining, and it's explaining before you interview.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So do you have any more? Got another question?
So what if by chance you submit the application and it goes through and everybody and you come to the interview and this is the first time they meet you and you talk to them, what do you say, or how do you convince them at that time, even if you did not have a chance to have the talk with the...
Again, I would undersell myself. In other words, I would very carefully, this is where you do your detective work. You find out what's really important to them. You sell yourself on those things that are real important, but you don't make it sound like, no big deal. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do. I mean, this has been a common problem I've had with. I've worked over the years with a lot of Dell refugees, and they say I can do everything. Sorry, you can't. Sorry.
Yeah.
And don't sell yourself that. Mm-hmm. Be very, very targeted on how you're going to sell yourself. And it's probably undersell yourself, which you should be able to do. But it's dicey.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, good.
You run that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we got it. Good talk.
Yeah. I think the last thing I want to say is if you go to a company and they have 5 positions, pick the one that you are the absolute best fit for. And that will likely stretch you, and apply for that job. The idea is if they think you are a better fit for another job, let them tell you that. Okay. Because these job descriptions, they're nebulous. They're very often very badly written. The smaller the company, the worse they are. It's rather interesting. I talked to the Austin chapter of the Texas Recruiters Association a couple of years ago, and one of the gentlemen who spoke the next session after me does consulting for a lot of the high-tech startups, and he does a lot of audits. And one of the things he talked about was HR should be able to come up with all the job descriptions so that the hiring manager doesn't.
Well, if you don't have 2 of those things.
So
at a small company.
yeah. Well, these are companies with 50 or 100 people, and it just doesn't happen. And what David was doing audits of these companies, doing HR audits, and actually doing an end-to-end hiring audit from attracting the candidate to onboarding them.
Oh, okay.
And most of these companies were clueless, absolutely clueless on how to do the whole process. So when you look at these job descriptions, they suck. I'm sorry. They're and so the idea is find the one that will stretch you the most. This is particularly if you're applying to some big company like Dell.
Yeah.
Or this was a real problem during the Great Recession when I worked at Lifesize. We were growing, and we would always have multiple sales positions at different levels. And I had one guy who came to me who came from the job club, and he applied for 3 jobs at 3 very different levels.
Okay.
And when I carried his resume into the hiring manager, she basically said he applied for all 3 jobs. He doesn't know what he wants. I'm kicking him out.
Okay.
And because she couldn't figure out which he's the best qualified for. So she says, I'm not going to bother with him. Bye. And so that's the challenge and that, again, that comes back to, okay, don't apply for jobs you're overqualified for. Okay? So I think we beat this horse into the, and so I'm gonna pause the recording, and we're gonna open up the floor. So I'm gonna pause it here, the recording here.
Okay.
So we've restarted the recording. What I want to talk about next week is talents versus skills.
Oh, okay. That's a good topic.
And how do you know the difference? This is the #1 found blog post on my website. Yeah, I think it's been found 30,000 times or so.
Wow.
Now.
Okay.
And this is, it's interesting. I have a client who I've known for years who is she's really a top flight instructional designer. And I asked her several years ago, well, what are your talents versus your skills? And she couldn't tell me.
Wow.
I said, if she can't tell me, and she understands skills, that means most of us can't.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk about that next week. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is, and this is what I've got a blog post right now on up on LinkedIn Publisher right now, is what skills do you want to carry forth in your second half of life?
Yes. Yeah.
Because a lot of us have developed a lot of skills that, I'm sorry, we don't want to use anymore.
That is true.
When I left high tech, I did not want to, and for years I've inhaled technologies and spit them out in various animations, all kinds of stuff. And put it bluntly, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right. Yeah. That'll be a good topic to talk about.
So, and we'll talk about how you differentiate talents and skills. So with that, thanks to everybody coming. And I will have the recording up tomorrow morning, both as a blog post and on the office hours webpage. So thank you very much, and see you next week.
Have a good evening. Thank you.